And to talk more on this, we are joined by DW correspondent Hans Pratt from Berlin. Good evening, Hans. Well, Denmark is a member of the European Union and also a member of NATO. That makes Greenland European Union and NATO territory as well. Now, do European leaders really need to be concerned?
Yes, I think they do really need to be concerned, especially in the light of US action in Venezuela in recent days. They have demonstrated that Donald Trump is very determined to push through his plans, his ideas, despite resistance, international criticism, and so on. And as was mentioned, there have been statements from very close advisors to Donald Trump in recent days that even military action could not be excluded. One advisor said that Greenland should belong to the United States, that nobody should resist this, that United States interests would have first place in any discussions, in any considerations of the future of Greenland. It's something that Donald Trump has been talking about for several years already, but in recent days, recent weeks, the pressure has increased substantially. Officially, there's talk about the strategic importance of Greenland in the Arctic region, with China and Russia also very active there. But there are also business interests that play a role here. Natural resources in Greenland, rare earths and certain kinds of minerals are something that Donald Trump is looking at. And in a sense, you could say it would be one of the biggest real estate business deals that he would ever perform if he were to do something like that. He's even talked about buying Greenland. So it's a very complex situation.
Now, one would also expect the European leaders to be absolutely clear in their defense of Greenland. Has this been the case so far?
Yes, indeed. If one compares the European reaction to Venezuela, to the events in Venezuela, there Europe was very cagey, very reticent. There was no real condemnation of US action there. But as regards Greenland, top European leaders, including the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, issued a joint statement together with Denmark, and they said that all discussions about Greenland should be based on international law, on the respect of territory, on the respect of international borders, and that only decisions made by Denmark and the Greenland people should be decisions that should be respected. But that's really where the problem lies. Greenland has been controlled by Denmark for hundreds of years, but it is in a sense still a colony, and there are people in Greenland that are not very comfortable with being controlled from Denmark, and the United States is trying to kind of drive a wedge between the people of Greenland and Denmark. That's certainly one angle that could lead to further discussions, especially from the side of the people of Greenland.
Now, if the US really enforced its will in Greenland, what would that mean for the NATO military alliance?
Well, Denmark has warned that it would be the end of the NATO alliance. And if you look at what the NATO alliance is all about, it's a way of saying if one member gets attacked, then all the other members will regard that as an attack on their own territory and will defend that member. But what happens if one member of NATO attacks or pressures or takes territory from another member of NATO? That's something that the NATO alliance isn't really made to be, and it concerns not only European countries but also countries such as Canada and Turkey. Of course, we have to say that within NATO there's been a lot of pressure in recent months and years already from the United States, especially from Donald Trump, who's been telling the other countries that they need to take more responsibility, pay more money, offer more troops into NATO. So there's a lot of tension within NATO already. The situation is far from stable. On the other hand, you could say that NATO could be a way of resolving the issue around Greenland. If Greenland were to be controlled militarily by a NATO alliance with the United States in the lead, that could be a diplomatic solution for the situation. But diplomatic solutions are not what Donald Trump is normally interested in.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Hans Pratt, for joining us from Berlin and giving us the latest on this.